I guess I don't really need slides at this point, but yeah, I'm Nguyen. I'm from Toronto, and I'm a software engineer, and I recently graduated from the computer science program from the University of Waterloo. The title of my talk is Spirals in Storytelling, and these are two very conflicting themes, but they mean a lot to me. So yeah, to start off with what spirals means for me. So I openly deal with various mental illnesses. I have OCD, I have anxiety, and I have depression. And for a lot of my life, it's really controlled me. It's really affected me. And I deal with other issues like panic attacks, self-harm. I've dealt with various kinds of substance and medication abuse. And yeah, it's really difficult stuff. And when I talk about spirals, I use that word to talk about when I'm feeling triggered by something or something is really getting difficult. And for a while, these spirals really controlled me, and it really dictated my life. And through storytelling, I've been able to empower myself, come to terms with these things, and realize, honestly, it's okay to deal with these issues. We're human, we go through mental health. A lot of people go through mental illness, and we should be supporting each other. So before I start, I want to talk about, I guess, past me. Yeah, I look very different in various stages of my life. I grew up in a low-income family in Toronto with a single mom. I dealt with disability with my brother. My brother is autistic. He is on the severe end of the spectrum. He is nonverbal. So growing up my entire life, I saw the difficulties of trying to advocate for disability services. And when I became diagnosed with mental illness when I was 15, I faced it myself. I saw my mom have to fight for services, being a woman of color, being an immigrant, being a refugee, not knowing English really well, always having to fight for her kids. So, and in general, life was just really difficult. I went through a lot of things that lots of kids shouldn't go through. I went through lots of forms of abuse. I saw my parents' marriage and relationships split up and just become really abusive. So I guess when it came time to go to university, I was really excited because I was excited to move away from home and just to be away from an environment that just made me really depressed and sad. And I guess going back to this image, I was a really nerdy-looking kid. This is me with like some medal from the Math Olympics. Now I look more attractive. I took off my glasses, like one of those high school movies. But anyways, I was always interested in coding and computer science. So naturally, I decided to study computer science, and I thought it was a new, fresh beginning for me. But for a lot of people, a lot of minorities in tech, a lot of people who don't feel represented, you know very well that when you go into these environments, you're reminded often that you don't belong, and these environments are competitive, and often you leave. And for me, I went through a lot of those issues with insecurity, and on top of that, I went through mental illness issues. So I never talked about it because I wanted everyone to look up to me and think I was the awesome token woman, and I lived this life for several years, or not several, a couple of years during university. So yeah, bottling up all these issues and pretending that everything was okay was really problematic. And I thought moving away from university, I would get a fresh new start, but with any type of disability or mental illness or issue you have in your life, these things follow you everywhere. So for me, that was experiencing failure. My first semester of university, I failed on my courses, and somehow I had the audacity to lie to people and said I was doing well, and it was really difficult. And at the time, I didn't reach out to my school's mental health services because I was ashamed. I didn't want to be seen as, I guess, cheating the system or trying to benefit from it. So that took a huge toll on me, and especially going through OCD and dealing with a lot of horrible daily occurrences, it really ate up on my life and my relationships and everything. And being a woman of color, I've noticed my entire life that there is a diversity problem in tech. There's also a diversity problem in mental health. I don't see people that look like me in the system. I've been to support groups, I've been to therapy, I've had counselors that just don't look like me. And having representation is really important, especially when it comes to mental health, and when part of mental health therapy is being able to share your stories. So I guess things got really worse for me at some point where I got away for a few years by not seeking help or reaching out to mental health services. And in my third year of university, I failed an operating systems course. I will say that this operating systems course is really hard. A lot of students struggle with this course, and it's kind of the course that decides whether you should continue with CS. But I failed this course because I had a panic attack on the final exam. I was going through a lot of really difficult things that month. And for a lot of programs in university, if you fail the final, you fail the entire course, which really sucks because I was actually acing the assignments and whatnot. But anyways, that was when I was like, wow, my mental illness is really controlling me, it's controlling my success, and this is really unfair. So I decided to speak up about it and try to file a petition with my university to get it waived or to be able to write the exam again based on my extenuating circumstances. And this is when I learned that the mental health system at universities are really shitty. The petition was rejected. I never found out why. I spent a lot of time writing it. I spent a lot of time tracking old therapists and psychologists I had to prove that I went through the issues I went through. And in the process, when I was going through this process, I learned that all students face this. And at some point, when my petition was actually rejected, I was doing an internship in San Francisco, and I was just really overwhelmed with everything and depressed over a handful of things. And that month, I tried to kill myself, and I ended up going to the hospital, and then things ended up being okay. But that was when I discovered mental health in the workplace is also really shitty too. I was an intern in the US, and I had health insurance, but it was for emergency situations, and I thought this was an emergency situation. I tried to kill myself. I was sent to the hospital, but it turns out it wasn't, and for the entire time I was interning in San Francisco, I had to argue and prove to the insurance company that what I had faced was an emergency. And every 2 weeks, I'm Canadian, so every 2 weeks I'd get a letter in the mail saying, you owe this much money, and at some point it amounted to $2,000 just for a suicide attempt. And I spent my entire internship dealing with that, and I tried to reach out to my workplace and say, hey, I'm going through this situation, and I'm also just really depressed right now. I need to see a therapist, and all of these things. And they told me that we don't provide mental health services for interns, but they gave me a low-cost list of services. And I actually went through that list, and it wasn't low cost whatsoever. So I guess being part of this process, advocating for myself, for my mental illness, in CS education and in the workplace, you discovered that things aren't set up to help you succeed. And oh, my slides are kind of messed up. But anyways, I think in general, there's a huge lack of education about mental health and mental illness in the workplace and in school. And people see trying to get accommodations, trying to get help as something that kind of, reduces academic integrity or is like some kind of crutch. But really, everyone deals with these things, and especially university students. University students encounter some kind of depression or anxiety at some point in their career, and especially people in the tech workplace, since our environments don't really support that. You're praised for working hard and sacrificing all your time, but when you want to take a break or want time for self-care, you're kind of chastised for it. And it's really shitty, and I really advocate for education, and as much as it is important for the person themselves going through the issues to advocate for themselves, the labor can't be all placed on them. I think the systems itself need to change. So I really push for all this, and in the process, I push that it's really okay to be open and come to terms with your disability or mental illness or your issues in life. For students, they have to realize that you're really worth more than your degree, and that's something that took me 5 years to realize, and now I've graduated, which is great. And even in the workplace, being a tech worker, you're worth more than those lines of code, you're worth more than all of those things. So this is obviously an event where there's lots of people in the industry, so there's lots of things to think about in terms of supporting students. Of course, hire interns not only from top schools, hire them from all over the place. That's the only way you can get true diversity and inclusion. And also openly promote and provide mental health services for interns and new grads. It can be super awkward to ask about it during interviews, and unfortunately, we're at a point in our society where it's still taboo. But I think companies, if they transparently, list that on their job requirement or on their company perks, then it'll make things a lot better, and it'll make things less awkward and open. And on top of that, as you know, lots of tech companies have, kegs and ping pong tables and, really lucrative perks, but those aren't really perks. Self-care and mental health care should be a perk, it should be prioritized. Yeah, and as a result, I was able to, yeah, by myself. Thank you. Yeah. Can I still keep going? Oh, okay. Yeah, I still have a bunch more slides. But yeah, I really advocate for that. And on top of that, sometimes you can't change the system overnight, unfortunately. Things are conservative bureaucracies. But finding communities that can support you can make things feel a lot better. And for me, it was just getting involved in different open source initiatives like Women of Color in Tech, Right Speak Code, and also leading my own open source project, If Me. It's an online community where you can figure out how to talk about your mental health with your loved ones, and that's something I personally struggled with. And on top of that, getting involved in various diversity and inclusion initiatives has really been a safe space for me. It's really helped me to come to terms with insecurities of not feeling like I belong in tech, and also just make friends in the process. And something really important I want to say is that as much as advocating for yourself is just as important as advocating for others, but also on top of that, sometimes you need a break from advocating for yourself. Sometimes it's okay to step back and take a break from volunteering for that great diversity initiative or openly speaking about things. Like when you go through a disability, you're not required to be the spokesperson or the token person. It's okay to step back and find your safe spaces. And on top of that, being tech isn't your only story. You have plenty of things to talk about. You have interests, your family, you have your friends, and yeah, that's something that took me a long time to value myself. So yeah, turn those spirals into stories, and it's okay to have spirals. Everyone has spirals, and the more you share them, the more you talk about it with people you trust, the more that you love yourself more. Thank you.